So a few studies now have shown that we're not achieving optimum pollination in apple, and here we are in an intensively grown apple orchard, and you can see there's a lot of blossoms here for our bees and hoverflies to pollinate. We've also shown that the most important pollinators on apple are solitary bees, and so these are the insects that we really need to boost for this particular crop. So the question is, how are we going to turn these blossoms into good quality produce which will bring the grower profit? So what I'm about to explain now is how you'll be able to measure whether you've got optimum pollination in your orchard. So the first step is to get to the orchard, obviously when it's in blossom, and this is the way we can measure how effective the natural pollination is in your orchard. So I'm going to select 2 trusses of flowers. So the first truss I'm just going to label with some yellow tape, and this will be open pollinated. So we're just going to let the insects, the bees, the hoverflies get on with doing their ordinary job, and they'll visit and pollinate that particular truss there. On the second truss, what we're going to do is we're going to hand pollinate. So hand pollinate is replicating optimum pollination. So we're going to get it as good as we can possibly get it. So I'm going to label this truss with red tape. And just as a little tip, just make sure you have plenty of tape when you're doing this, because when the tree is in leaf, they can actually be quite difficult to relocate. And then what I've done here is I've selected a flower from a polliniser tree which is in the orchard, and the pollen is dehissed there on the stamens, and I'm just going to coat the paintbrush in the pollen. Now obviously you can't see it very well because it's microscopic, but we can then transfer that onto the stigmas in the centres of the flowers of our hand pollinated truss. And you need to be gentle so that you don't actually damage those stigmas. And then there's a flower here which is still closed, but we can just put the paintbrush inside and pollinate there. So we're back in the orchard now, it's harvest time. We've got reasonably good crop in this orchard, so I'm going to now assess whether we've got good quality apples. So if you remember, our yellow tape is for our open pollination, so they're the flowers that the bees would have pollinated in the spring. So I'm just going to pick a couple off, and we're just going to check initially for size. So it's a good size, marketable size, and a good shaped apple. And then the way to then tell if it's been adequately pollinated is we just cut it in half, and we look at the numbers of mature seeds inside, and you can see we've got a reasonable number there. So there's about 5 mature seeds in there. So that apple has been well pollinated by bees. So next thing I'm going to do is take from our hand pollinated apples, and again just going to select one just to demonstrate. And this was hand pollinated, and once again you can see the size is really good and marketable. And then if I cut this one open, and we have a look at the seed set in here. So yeah, we've got decent mature seeds in there, just to show that that was good pollination by hand pollination. So what this is kind of indicating to me, and obviously you need to do this on a replicated number of trees, not just one apple, is that this orchard has had adequate insect pollination, because we've got no real difference between the hand pollinated and the open pollinated. If we had inadequate pollination, and we'll look at several trees along this row, we'd have small misshapen apples, and we wouldn't see so many mature seeds inside the apples.
This morning we've come to check the pollination of the Braeburn. So first of all, I'm going to pick the apple, make sure it's the correct size. And now I'm going to cut the apple open and see what it looks like on the inside. So see if we had good pollination. Okay, so now we've cut the apple open, you can see that it's been well pollinated. It's got a couple of mature seeds in there, so it's a good marketable apple. Here we have a smaller apple not so good for the market. Gonna have a look inside and see the pollination here. So as you can see from here, there's actually no mature seeds in this one, so not so good for the market.